Cody Rhodes has finally made it through Drew McIntyre and Survivor Series, and he's focused on WrestleMania. And now he wants to know who will be the next man to step up. Aleister Black, the man who has shaken off former world champion and Damian Priest, now wants to be a champion in his own right. And he looks to send a message in the most brutal way possible until Cody is saved. And it's Randy Orton who appears and runs off Aleister Black and Zelina. And Cody takes this opportunity not to thank Randy, but to call out Black. And he says that if he wants to attack under the cover of darkness, he should consider stepping into the light. Anywhere, anytime. And Cody seems to barely acknowledge the support of Randy outside of a quick glance, but he is forced to acknowledge the next move from Zelina and Aleister Black when they conduct a bizarre ceremony. And Zelina points out that Cody isn't soulless, but that is his biggest problem. She says it's lonely at the top, and if he continues on like this, he's going to lose everything and everybody who's ever helped him. And it takes a soulless man to stand at the top of the mountain, which is why Aleister Black is the perfect man to do it. And the man who will. But this is when Cody runs out to crash the ceremony, and he beelines directly for Black, but he gets cut off by Zelina. And she's armed, but Cody rips the chair out of her hands, and now she would usually leave. But she doesn't. She just invites him to hit her. She's trying to goad him in to embracing the darkness. But of course, he doesn't. But things do go dark for him. Cody is clearly affected by this interaction. Of course, he would never hit Zelina, but he wonders if perhaps Aleister Black has a point. Does he need to somewhat embrace some darkness? And with that on his mind, he arrives at John Cena's final show to speak to the legend himself to get some advice. Because later in the night, he's defending the WWE Championship against Aleister Black. And Cena tells Cody he doesn't need the dark side. He's tried it, very recently in fact, and it shows that you can be yourself, and that is all you and the fans will ever need. He tells him to stick to his guns because that's the only way to win or to lose. And Cody, with that in mind, heads into battle against the Dutch Destroyer, who is not only determined to test Cody physically, but also mentally. And just like Drew McIntyre has recently, along with Zelina, they try and get in Cody's head and force him to snap. And it ends up with the WWE Championship in the ring again, and Zelina distracting the referee. But bizarrely, Aleister drops the title at Cody's feet and tells him to use it. And now he has the chance, and he picks it up, and it looks like he might even consider it. But he doesn't. And then Black attempts a Black Mass, but Cody reverses brilliantly, and he hits a crossroads, but it's on to the title. Cody, once again, wins in a cloud of controversy. And while this would usually draw the absolute fury out of Aleister Black, he actually looks vindicated. He says, "The darkness looks good on you, Cody. You should embrace it." And after Cody has just scraped through another challenge, not only for his title, but for his morals, he walks in on Nick Aldis having a conversation with Randy Orton. And they quickly stop that conversation. But before either of them can say anything, Sami Zayn then enters the room. And he pleads his case. He says he's put the US title back on the map. He's put the MFTs behind him. And he thinks he's ready for a run at the gold. Cody's gold. And Aldis says he likes this idea. And in fact, that's what he and Randy were talking about. And he sets it up. It'll be Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn tonight. And Cody says, whoa, Nick, we didn't talk. Actually, you know what? Fine. Good luck, gentlemen. And Cody leaves them to it. He doesn't seem overly happy, but then Randy says to Sami, "You know, I've waited a long time for this." It's a rematch of the King of the Ring semi-final from last year, and it's a banger. Sammy is fighting for another opportunity to reach the top of the mountain for the first time, and Randy, well, as he said, has waited a long time to get back into the fray, only to be hit with a haluva kick. And then he falls over near the ropes, and despite getting his foot underneath them, it's missed by the referee. And Sammy doesn't seem to even realize that he's stolen a win. And he celebrates fully. He's going to Saudi Arabia to wrestle for the World Championship. It's a literal dream come true. But Randy sees it ringside, and he looks like he might pounce, but he doesn't get the chance because Cody walked past him, and he gets in the ring, but not to do anything untoward, but to congratulate Sammy and make it official. And now we head to Riyadh with many questions to be answered in so many different ways. With the first one being, how powerful is Sammy's motivation? And that is answered so quickly, purely through his performance. He's all over Rhodes, and Sammy is now no longer the underdog. He's the man who looks ready to win the world title for the very first time. However, Sammy looks for a luva kick, but Cody evades and kicks him in the knee, which actually forces Sammy to land awkwardly, and now he's clutching at it. And of course, this draws the attention of the referee, who's now asking him if he can continue. And of course, Sammy is determined as ever, and he pulls himself up the corner. He's desperate to keep going. But Cody is conflicted. He's looking back and forth between the crowd and Sammy. He doesn't know what to do until Sammy fights his way out of the corner, and he wants to continue. And Cody turns. He doesn't want to do it. Has to. And he chop blocks the knee, and it sends Sammy screaming in pain to the mat. And he rather ruthlessly rips him up off the canvas and drills him with not one, not two, but three crossroads. And he pins Sami Zayn, and he wins. Then he almost has a moment of realization after the match, and he tries to shake his hand. But Sammy refuses, and he walks off on Cody, who has the words of Aleister Black ringing in his ears. And it's starting to prove to be pretty lonely at the top. But Cody feels awful for how the match played out, and he sees Sammy at the airport, and he tries to explain, but Sammy simply isn't having it, and he says, No, you don't need to apologize. I do. I should have shaken your hand. I was upset because I got hurt. I was upset because this was my chance, but like every other time, it's just not the time. And listen, I know you've lost big matches in the past because you couldn't pull the trigger. Well, tonight you did. So maybe that's the key. Maybe I need to pull the trigger one day to make my mark. Sammy, listen, you do great. You had me. I've still got your back. I appreciate it, but I gotta do this on my own, man. Sammy is a shattered man, but he wants to continue on. And Cody once again is left conflicted as he mumbles to himself, the more I do right, the more I lose. Maybe something does have to change. Cody is at a crossroads, begging the question which direction he's going to turn next. Well, that direction for Randy is Elimination Chamber, because the shackles come off when Aldous gives him the chance to qualify for the match itself, with the winner facing Cody Rhodes. Considering the winner of the Royal Rumble in Bron Breakker chose CM Punk to face for the world title. And this ignites Orton, who goes on a tear and dismantles his qualifier to go through. But so does Sami Zayn, and now they both enter the steel structure. And the match is stacked, and it's as wild and chaotic as usual. Bodies fly, bodies break, and the eliminations go down. But ultimately, it boils down to two. And Zayn pushes Orton to the limit, but ultimately is hit with an RKO. And Orton with this new fire burning inside. We've seen it so many times. He lines up Sammy and he runs off, but stops and doesn't pull the trigger. And he delivers another RKO to defeat Sami Zayn and move on to WrestleMania. And as the chamber rises, Sammy, even though devastated, still shakes the hand and raises the arm of the Viper. And Sammy makes up for the mistake he made in Riyadh, and he has a brief moment in the aisle with Cody Rhodes as he heads out to face off with Orton. And when they do, it gets minds wandering. Is either of them willing to pull the trigger on the other when it matters? And that's the message the man who started it all has back on SmackDown, and he targets Sami Zayn. He wants to get in his head now and try and implant this darkness. And we see that he and Zelina are poised to destroy him and wipe him out of commission until Cody Rhodes comes out for the save. And the place erupts, and it's against Sammy's wishes, but Cody just wants to do the right thing, but ultimately gets a knee across the jaw, which takes him out. The Dutch Destroyer is pissed, and now he's gonna try and end them both, until once more another savior arrives to an even bigger ovation, and Orton makes his way down to the ring and he hunts Aleister Black, who narrowly dodges an RKO only to see it land on Cody Rhodes. And Aleister Black slides out of the ring and then into the crowd with his wife, where he says, "Oh, the darkness is strong with you, Randy. But we've always known that. But you've lost your edge. But I still have faith. But the Viper needs eyes in the back of his head, because there's darkness still in there for the man behind you." Rhodes was poised, but he doesn't pull the trigger. He stands firm on his morals. But how long can this last for either man? But it gets broken up by Sami Zayn, who walks through the middle of them and challenges Aleister Black to a match at WrestleMania, which Black gleefully accepts because he can now see the darkness in Sami Zayn too. You're the forgotten man, Sami. Look at them. They don't care about you. But I acknowledge you. Years in the making. It's an all-out war, and both men, during this war, take things right to the edge. They test each other to the absolute maximum, and the competitiveness is clear, but what's even more clear is the underlying tension. And we get to a pivotal moment because the referee is out cold and Orton is also down, but Cody's tried everything. Or has he? And almost 12 months to the day where he couldn't pull the trigger on Cena, he still can't do it. He tosses the belt to the ground and he collapses in the corner. He's an emotional mess, and it costs him again. Zayn pulls the trigger to make his mark. But as Aleister Black said, if Cody didn't embrace the dark side, he would lose everything. Does, because Randy Orton stares down at Cody and says, "I'm not waiting anymore." Cody loses everything. And it makes you wonder, was John Cena right? Is this the right way to lose? Or was it Aleister Black who proved that this story doesn't end with a win? It ends when you have nothing left to lose. Maybe that is the true American nightmare.